When you think about James Bond 007, who crosses your mind?
George Lazenby?
Well, George definitely is one of them. But today I want to talk about Pierce Brosnan and one of my favorite Pierce Brosnan's films, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Bond. You know the rest.
If you think about this movie and what the story is about, the movie Tomorrow Never Dies was ahead of its time. It really was. The story of a media baron, Elliot Carver, who wants to take over the world, or rather take over the media of the world, by putting out false information about China and England and starting a little war between the two of them. When you also think about what the media's responsibility is today, and how it actually is taking care of news and telling people what's going on around the world, you have to again say that this movie was ahead of its time. Elliot was using his media network to tell his version of the truth so he could manipulate the world to believe what he wanted. James Bond is sent in to try to unravel Elliot's plan, and it's just, when you think about the world that we live in again and how it's reacted to the things that the media has done, it's an excellent movie. It really is. The media tries to control our lives, tells us what we should believe, and if we don't believe what they want, then we are labeled, profiled, and just knocked down. It is such a shame that so many people watching this movie didn't give it the credit that it deserves. It was a brilliant story, and I absolutely think Tomorrow Never Dies will be one of the best Bond movies ever made.
You forgot the first rule of mass media, Elliot. Give the people what they want.
I know that for some reason Pierce Brosnan doesn't feel comfortable, or rather like, a lot of what he did on the Bond movies. But I really think he doesn't give himself enough credit here. From GoldenEye to Tomorrow Never Dies, and even The World Is Not Enough, and half of Die Another Day, were all really good movies. Die Another Day's only problem was once he was re-enlisted in MI6, it started getting a little cheesy. The vanishing car, the ice hotel. The solid story of Tomorrow Never Dies was good, but for me, GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, and The World Is Not Enough is the best Bond for Pierce Brosnan. Now, I know a lot of people consider this scene to be pretty bad, but it actually is not when you consider some of the other Bond films and what they've done. If you want to talk about stupid scenes, then here we go. Moonraker. Bond is trying to escape Jaws on a parachute, and eventually Jaws is going to try to open up his parachute. It ain't going to work, and he's going to flap around, and then all of a sudden the next thing we see is a circus tent and him landing in it without a parachute. As I said at the beginning of the video, Tomorrow Never Dies is a movie that was ahead of its time. When you consider the way our media is today, in fact, CNN, the most powerful news network, the one that started it all in 24-hour news coverage, closed its doors in Atlanta, closed its headquarters, and is now apparently one of the worst networks for reporting on news because it was more interested in promoting special agendas rather than telling the truth. The news media is not doing what it's supposed to do in informing the public. It is informing us about agendas. And Pierce Brosnan's movie Tomorrow Never Dies did a pretty good job of bringing that out. We all knew it was there, but he did a damn good job telling the story about how dangerous media companies like our news networks can be. So tell me what you think. Did you like Tomorrow Never Dies? Do you think Pierce Brosnan was a bad James Bond? I think it was one of the best ones. If I had to give you a list of what my favorite Bond movies or Bond characters were, number one is Sean Connery. You cannot ignore that. And I met the man. He was amazing. Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton, in that order. Roger Moore, he's right down there at the bottom area, because as much as his first 3 movies were good, they started getting cartoonish after a while. They started getting more like they should have been an animated series than they were a live action story. Daniel Craig, he's at the bottom of the list for me, because I've never seen someone who looks so depressed more than Daniel does. Well, tell me what you think. Drop your comments below. Let me know. And until the next time, my friends, God bless.